Half a decade ago, I was deployed to Iraq. Back then, I wasn't a soldier because I particularly wanted to be. I was a mischievous kid, a kid who happened to turn a year older and saw a new way out. I wanted to be away from my parents, away from the people in my hometown. I didn't care about them, or so I thought at the time. I was foolish then. I would have embraced my loved ones and realized how stupid I was acting. Because being a soldier, even on a calm day, it was terrifying and stressful. Every week, insurgents, often young boys, would try to enter the base for various reasons. We were told not to approach or allow them inside the base, and those standing guard, they were ordered to fire on the ones with aggressive and suspicious behavior. I remember about 3 occasions in the early morning, when I had just barely woken up, when I'd hear this loud boom coming from outside. It was so loud it shook the barracks. Well, sometimes these kids wanted to sell their goods to the bored and desperate soldiers, but other times that boom was a child who had been strapped with explosives and forced to run at the base to suicide bomb any Americans outside the gates that they could. After the first time this happened, no one but the child was hurt, but the very thought of it gave me nightmares for the rest of my deployment. There was nothing left of those kids. How can someone blindly hate a group of people so much that they'd send their own children to die violent deaths just for the chance to kill someone? All day, all night, there were random shots being fired. We were constantly being shot at by civilians-made marksmen by radical groups. They would always attempt to shoot us from afar with weapons that weren't built for that kind of shooting. Even though they were just wasting their ammo, the fear was still there. The fear that a stray bullet would pierce the barracks and plow through my head while I was sleeping. That wasn't the worst thing, though. One day our squad was walking through a very peaceful part of a nearby village. The people in this place were not part of the radical groups and were very welcoming to us soldiers. They offered food and goods, and many of us thanked them for fighting back against the radicals. It was a very relaxing change of pace, but being outside the base always made me paranoid and nervous. Alongside us was a Humvee, but most of the squad was outside walking beside it. And then it happened too fast. One moment, Richard, one of my squad mates, was there. The next thing I knew, I was on the ground. My head was ringing. My whole body was in pain and trembling, and a thick cloud of dust surrounded us. Eventually, my staff sergeant pulled me up from the ground. Once the dust settled, as we were climbing back into the Humvee in an organized panic, I happened to glance to my left. Several meters away, where Richard had been before, there remained only tatters of desert camo, along with unreal amounts of blood and tissue. Richard was gone, blown away by a repositioned, recycled landmine that had been laid in the street in hopes of blowing away an American that stepped on it, in spite of how many innocent civilians were out there that could have stepped on it as well. I've been out of the military for 2 years now, and I will not go back. I've had my fill of nightmare fuel during deployments, and these were deployments that rarely saw any actual fighting. No, what we experienced were desperate, blindsided attacks by the most hateful people in the world. I hope I never get caught up in another war.